Hey everyone, how are you been? Well, I've been less than okay. Uh, have come down with a cold. Yay me. The only recluse in history to ever get sick, I think. Um, but anyways, so I know it's been a while since I've done a video of really good quality that touches on some issues, and well, I thought since I'm sick and emotional and kind of weepy right now that I would go ahead and delve into some previous issues that um, I just haven't covered before. Uh, I get a lot of questions regarding my disability and the fact that I'm bipolar and that I suffer from depression and things like that. And they're like, well, you always seem so upbeat in all your videos. And, yeah, it's true that I try to remain as upbeat as possible in my videos. Um, just because so many people have come to me and said, "Oh my God, your video has really helped me," or um, they've just left really positive feedback. And there's a few jerks on YouTube that leave me some negative comments, and for the most part, I try to delete them as quickly as they come on, just because with the topics that I cover, people really don't need to hear the douchebaggery that comes from these other folks. And so I don't delete the comments to make myself feel better. I delete the negative comments and remarks to really just kind of help those who come to my site and happen to watch the videos, because chances are they're going through the same thing or something similar to what I'm going through at the time. And if they read the remarks, they're not, they may get put off a little bit more. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. No one tells you that you have to watch my videos. You don't like what I have to say, you don't like the content of my videos, you are pissed off that I receive Social Security disability. Too damn bad. Sorry that your process didn't go through correctly, or that you have some stick up your ass that makes you feel that you need to go around and bash people who genuinely do need it and collect it. I'm sorry that if you have a physical impairment that keeps you from being able to actually work, or if you have something else going on in your life that keeps you from being able to do this, that, or the other thing. It's not my fault. And I'm sorry that you're going through that. I really truthfully am. And even if you're not, I'm sorry that you have to feel validated by bullying and resorting to saying a whole bunch of horrible negative bullshit on people's pages when they really don't care what you think. I, for the most part, care what people think only when they're positive. If you're coming at me with negative remarks and comments and stuff like that, I really don't care. So sorry, so sad. You don't like the way things are? Change them. Change them for yourself. But yelling, screaming, bitching, whatever you want to do on my video and other people's videos really isn't going to solve your problems. If you got denied and you feel that you should be on some kind of system or get some kind of help, find a different lawyer, find someone who will actually help you. But being angry and belittling on my page, on my videos, or anyone else's page or videos really isn't doing anything except for playing into the stereotype that you're probably just a jerk. So, that being said, like I said a few minutes ago before I went on that little tirade, people are always asking me, what has caused me to become depressed and what has led up to the bipolar and the depression and everything else. And honest answer is there was a lot of stuff that happened in my past with my family, with relationships, with growing up, with being bullied, with all kinds of different things. And I'm working really closely with a counselor trying to figure out what what actually did happen and where and what I need to do in order to get myself into a better state of mind. For the most part, I'm in a pretty decent place most of the time, but that bipolar kicks in and it can go downhill really quick and things escalate. So that's something that I've been working on with myself and with my counselor and other people, is trying to learn how to take baby steps and not just jump from one extreme to the other. And that's a really hard thing because when I was younger, I come from a very abusive household. Not physically abusive toward myself, but more mentally and verbally abusive. And growing up, I was always picked on, always taken advantage of, and I never used to talk to people. And I would never look them in the eye. And um, people could say whatever the hell it was that they wanted to say to me, and I would never shoot back with a rebuttal or anything like that. Um, because I had just really low personality and really, really low self-esteem. And so I was scared to really talk back to people for fear that they would attack me or hurt me or anything else. And so, growing up, I was constantly bullied, picked on, made fun of, told on a daily basis that I'm fat and ugly and that this was wrong with me or that was wrong with me and blah blah blah, hooda hooda, whatever. You know, kids are assholes. People in general are assholes. And it took me a very long time of listening to that constantly. People constantly just trying to break me down, break me down, break me down, break me down. And I remember crystal clear, specific point where something just snapped in me. I was in the 11th grade, and it was U.S. history, and I was sitting in the back of the room, and we were having a lecture about the American Tea Party. And sitting to my right was a football dude. I think he was like the quarterback or whatever. Don't know, don't care. And another guy. Sorry. So they were just talking shit, like bah, 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 barking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I remember the girl that he was dating, the quarterback dude. Um, she was just a fucking bitch, and she tried everything in her power to make my life live in hell. And some days she succeeded, some days she didn't. But I remember at one point, I just stopped. I turned to him, like I picked my whole desk up and I turned it so that I was facing him so he could see me. And I said at the top of my lungs so that everyone could hear me. I said, "You know what, asshole? You mean nothing to me in my life. Who the fuck are you to make me feel like I do? You are nothing. You will never be nothing. And you know what? I hope that whatever God you believe in blesses you. Because you're an ugly person with an ugly heart and an ugly soul. And I don't give a fuck what you or anyone else in this goddamn school has to say or think about me anymore. Because you know what? You're trivial. And you're not going to ever do anything besides get pregnant and smoke a bunch of drugs and really never amount to anything. This is your glory. This is your crowning achievement. So, you know what? If you think that you have to be the popular little football jock and make fun of the poor little white dude who doesn't have money or doesn't come from money and just struggles to get by from day to day, then fine. You do that. But you know what? I may never accomplish anything of notoriety in my life, but someday you're going to look back and realize, where the fuck has my life gone? When you're sitting up under a nasty ass scag, 48 kids, unemployed, and getting ready to lose the house. I may never be a millionaire or have a fancy job or travel or whatever else, but you know what? The measure of my life is going to be by the great times that I had and the people who I've met. And, you know, if I never get outside of my state or my country or anything else, as long as I've lived every day to its fullest for my abilities, then that is going to be a good life lived. And as far as I'm concerned, you, your girlfriend, and everyone else in this school can go fuck themselves because, really, I don't care anymore. And, um, that's how I left that little conversation. But it just snapped in me. Up to that point, I had never said anything to these people, never really had ever talked to anyone. I had my small little clique of friends, and that was pretty much it. And it felt good. I was scared to death that I was going to get my ass kicked after school, but I didn't care. I was tired of hearing it. And so that is what really kind of snapped in me and made me a little bipolar, because afterwards I would get really, really worked up whenever something was happening. Then I would explode and then cry about it afterwards. And I do that a lot now. I hold back a lot, but I give back more than what I hold back. And a lot of times that has gotten me into trouble with trying to hold down jobs or just everyday functionality, because people don't want to hear your side of things. They don't give a damn. And you know what? That's fine. They don't need to. But people also need to understand that you are a person yourself, and what you have to say and how you feel and what you think matters. It really didn't help me to be quiet all those years. What helped me was finally breaking the shackles of oppression and straight up coming out swinging and telling them, fuck you. Liberating words right there. Fuck you. And so that's how I live my life now. That's why I gave that little speech at the beginning of this video. I really don't care what people think about me, truthfully and honestly, because who are you in my life to make me feel bad about myself? So that was really the number one of the steps to coming out of my little shell. Before that, I was in the 4th grade, transferred to a new school. Parents had just got divorced. Um, Went from a school that's populous was under 100 students, including the high school, because it was K through 12. So there was like 100 students total, if even that many, to a school where there was over 500 students, none of which I knew. So, going through a divorce, moved to a new town, now in a new school, surrounded by people I don't know. Amazing shit. So, um, In the fourth grade, had really, really hard time adjusting to big school personality. In my in the school that I came from, we could go and whatever else, and the teachers would understand. They wouldn't say anything. I did that. The teacher jumped all over my ass, and the kids all looked at me like, "What is this spaz's problem?" I remember it was probably February or March of my fourth grade year when I first had my very first outbreak. Um, there was a group of kids that were bullying me, and one dude in particular who was just like an obnoxious little asshole, who later turned out to be like one of the biggest crackheads in the town that we were living in, and got mixed up in some drug problems and ended up going to prison for several years. Yeah, ooh, you were so much better than me. Anyways, um, I snapped. One day on the playground, him and his little posse were following me around, talking all kinds of shit, and I snapped on him. And the last thing I remember was coming out of my blacked out state, and I had him by the throat, holding him up against the wall. He was about that far up off the ground. By his neck, up against the wall, that far off the ground. Passed out. And teachers and the yard duties just pounding on me, trying to get me to let go of him. I seriously thought I had killed him. I dropped him. He fell to the ground like a bag of bricks. I started crying and I took off running. Well, that's when they started putting me through counseling and stuff like that for my rage, anger issues, and um, surprisingly though, kid only messed with me one more time after that, and I'm surprised that he even did that much. But um, we were in the middle of the school, all of us doing our um, gym exercises, and he comes up and he like pulls my pants down, and I got so pissed off that I started crying, and everyone thought that I was crying because I was embarrassed, but I was mad because I was getting ready to hurt this dude. And I went straight to the principal and I was like, "You've got to do something, because if you don't, I'm going to hurt this person bad." Well, the principal came in and we had to do a counseling session with each other, and "Oh, well, why did you do this to him?" "Well, I don't know, I did this because blah blah blah." "Well, bullshit. It was not taken care of. It just was not handled properly. So after school, the kid followed me home and started talking shit, and I got so pissed off that I grabbed a payphone, took the receiver, and ripped it out of the phone itself, held it by the end of the cord that once held it into place, and beat the shit out of the kid with the phone handle. And the shopkeeper came out like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And like, he had a big old gash across his face here. His face was all swollen, knocked out a couple of teeth, and I was just like, "I'm done." So going through the whole life being bullied and stuff like that really kind of put me into a position of attack and just, I don't know how to explain it, but you could only abuse somebody for so long before they are eventually going to strike back at you. And that's how I am now. I'm a very outspoken person. I don't care what your thoughts or feelings are on a situation or a subject or what have you. If I feel differently or I have opposition to it, I'm going to tell you, right, wrong, or indifferent. I don't care what political stance there is, what religious ideology there is. Don't give a damn. If I feel a certain way, you're going to know it. And I used to be called Scotty Two Cents because I always gave my 2 cents about everything. But it's because I spent so long not speaking up for my, or taking a stance in my life, that I don't want to go through that again. I want people to know what I think. And I'm a very blunt, straightforward, honest person. I don't lie to people. And if I am lying to you, there is two explanations. One, you don't need to know the truth. Or two, it's because it's a surprise. Like a birthday or Christmas present or something else. Okay, going back to one. If you don't need to know the truth, one of two things is going to happen. Either I'm going to tell you a variation of the truth, or I'm going to tell you a white lie. But more than more often than not, I'm going to tell you the blunt, straight, God honest truth, or at least the truth as I perceive it. And that's how it is. It's lost me some friendships, but it also has created some really amazing friendships because I'm straight, honest, and forward and tell people how it is. I don't sugarcoat things. I figure people get lied to enough in their life that they don't need to be having things sugarcoated for them. So I don't. I tell people straight up. If you're being stupid, you're being a whore, you're doing things wrong, I'll tell you straight up. You're being a fuck up. You need to change, or this needs to change, or what have you. And if they can't understand that, or find it too honest, or brutal, or that I'm being an asshole, too damn bad. It's how I feel. Take it or leave it. I don't care about what your opinion is on me. Um, so that has transferred into my work life as well. Um, and I've held down several different, well, at least 40 different jobs in my life. And that has always been a very big hindrance because I've taken that stance of I don't care who you are, what your title is, or what you think you are, you're not going to treat me poorly. And if I feel that I'm being treated unfairly in a job or in a professional environment or anything else, I bring that up and I don't fucking care. I was raised poor. I know how to live as a poor person. So really all your money did was help me buy a few things that I didn't have previously. And that is the attitude that I took into working jobs and stuff. And bosses and people like that don't like being told that they're wrong or being called out on their shit. They're used to people kissing ass and rolling over and showing them their stomachs and stuff. I worked at a job in a background clearance place. So what would happen is every morning I would come in, get my sheet of people that I had to make calls on, and then I would call them starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, their time zone, to verify their employment, their degrees or credentials or whatever else. So all day long I would be making these phone calls. Well, I kept calling this one particular number and never getting a response, never getting a response, never getting a response. And finally one day I left a message on the phone saying, look, if this is so and so, this is the number that was provided for us. We're just trying to check your background information so that you can get the job that you applied for. If this person no longer lives here or your number has changed, please call and let us know and we'll take you off the calling list. So I get called into my manager's office a day later with an irate phone call from the person that I've been leaving the messages on. And I flat came out and told her and my boss and my supervisor, all of which were in the same little room. She was on speakerphone. My boss and my supervisor was sitting there. And I said, look, lady, if you would have just called back and made an attempt, you would not have received all these quote-unquote harassing phone calls. Now, saying that you're going to call and press charges against us and all this other stuff, that's not going to fly. And I cited the California law for phone call harassments and stuff like that, and told her she didn't have a case. So my boss and my supervisor apologized to her, hung up, and then they started ringing me. And I said, look, you pay me to do a job. You told me I have to do XYZ. I did XYZ, and then flipped that bitch and did ABC. So, you're not going to get mad at me for doing my job unless you're going to rewrite my job description. And they're all like, well, you know what? This is a warning. And I said, no. You don't give me warnings. I'm telling you, I did my job how I was told to do it. So, either transfer me to a different department within the office, or rewrite my job descriptions. They said, don't let it happen again. I said, fine. Then what I'll start doing is every person who doesn't give me a call back, I'm going to put a line through it and put, I was told not to call them anymore per this meeting. So, I went through, made my one phone call a day, and at the end of the day, I would put a line next to every single one of them with a sticky note. You told me not to make any more callbacks to these numbers. I need a new list. And I would send that in to my supervisor. So that went on for about 3 weeks before I got another reprimandation. And this time, it was because I left a personal magazine out I was reading a magazine in the lunchroom. And someone made comment about the content of said magazine. First of all, it wasn't a bad magazine, it was People. I'm sorry, no, it wasn't People, it was The Advocate, which was a gay and lesbian magazine, and I happened to be reading it. And so they called me out on it and said that, oh, that kind of magazine isn't appropriate in the workplace and all this other stuff, and blah, 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 blah. And I said, first of all, it's my personal time, so this is what I'm going to do during my personal time. During my personal time, I'm not being paid, and I'm not an employee. You don't want this kind of material in the office. It's not in the office, it's in the break room. Second, this isn't mine. It was already in here, and I was reading it. It was a personal magazine that someone else had brought in, and then I picked up and started reading it. So, just had that, strong opposition toward these people, and I started feeling like I was being attacked and bullied all the time. Every time I did something, someone would complain about it. And it got to the point where I finally told them, I'm like, look, you have two options. Either fire me so I could collect unemployment, or transfer me to a different department so then that way I don't continue to offend those, little bastards who happen to be walking around me and staring over my shoulder in my cubicle all the time. And so they went ahead and fired me. And I'm like, okay, fine. I don't need this job anyways. It was only paying me $100 a week. I don't fucking need that job. Deuces. So I packed up all my shit, collected unemployment for 6 months, got another job. Another job that I worked, I was in charge of 4 different stores in the Coachella Valley, there in California. It was nationwide pool retailer, or pool supply retailer. I'm not going to name names or anything like that, but I worked 4 different stores in the Coachella Valley area, Coachella Valley, Palm Springs area. There was a store in La Quinta, a store in Palm Desert, a store in Cathedral City, and a store in Palm Springs. Now, there was me and another person that was hired on at the same time, and they always played favorites with her. And it was fine. It was understandable. You know what? Fine, go right on ahead, play favorites. I don't care. Really, I really don't. I spent my entire career with them bouncing between all 4 of those stores. I had access codes, I had safe combinations, I had personal clientele lists for each one of those stores that no one else had, including my district manager. And he's the one that caused a lot of problems for me when I was working for them. My district manager would come in and just ream my ass for tiny bullshit, petty, pathetic stuff. And when I'm saying bullshit, pathetic, petty shit, I'm talking like I have a pen and a piece of paper on my cash register, and there's no place for the customers to set their stock or to set their inventory down when they are their purchases down. I looked around, tumbleweeds and crickets, okay? There ain't no one in there. Hadn't been anyone in there for 3 days. Literally. No one had come in to the store for 3 days. How that store was still open, beyond me. But he was yelling at me because I had a pen and a paper on the counter next to my cash register, and the customers had no place to put their stuff. Really? No. So, during the whole time, I worked my ass off to make that job, like, a good job. The manager for the Cathedral City store up and left. Didn't give a notice, didn't do anything, just left. Like, goodbye. Didn't clock out, didn't do nothing, just left. Locked the doors, walked out. I was like, okay, that's interesting. So what do? They put me into that store as store manager, but they didn't give me the title of store manager. I did all the work that a store manager would do every single day. Opening paperwork, closing paperwork, purchase orders, anything that needed to be done or brought into that store, this guy right here, no one else. All the other stores had assistants. This guy right here never got an assistant. And we had 5 different assistants that could move around at any given point. The Palm Springs store had 3 teenagers that worked at that store that were assistants that could have been brought over to me. One of them could have been brought over to me. 2 of them could have been brought over to me. It didn't matter. But whatever store I was in, assistants or not, they would move those people to a different store. So I'm like, okay, fine. I put on my Superman cape. I did all kinds of shit to get things taken care of. My district manager came in to talk to us and do a performance review or whatever, and was riding my butt in the back storeroom at one of the at the Palm Springs store. And he was back there talking to another manager, and I just happened to be teaming up with him that day. And he was just riding my ass and talking about how I wasn't doing anything right and how I didn't do anything correctly and so on and so forth. And I was like, you know what? I do my job. You might not think that I don't do my job, but I work my ass off. I'm in here usually 30 minutes before work and a good 45 minutes after work. making sure that shit gets done. And stuff that doesn't get done gets put off to the next day, and I make sure that it gets taken care of. So you coming in here and flapping your gums, telling me that I'm not doing shit and that I'm a worthless employee and all this other stuff. If I'm so horrible, why don't you fire me? Straight up, fire me if I'm that horrible and that worthless. Oh wait, you can't because I'm not. So I'm just like in a fuming, pissed off mood, and I go out to help a customer. And while I'm out there helping the customer, she is like enamored with me and just happy that I could be of assistance. And she flat asked me, "Is there anyone that I could talk to? Because I would really like to give you a great performance review." Yeah, there is. Hold on just a minute. Go into the back room. "Hey, Mr. District Manager, come here. There's a customer out here that wants to talk to you." "Oh yeah, you too, manager. Come here." So we go bebopping out there. "Oh yeah, how can I help you?" And she just like lays it on. "Oh my god, this young man right here has been amazing. He's been a life sent. He's done this, he's done that, blah blah blah, yada yada." And so she left the store feeling completely good about herself and beaming. And he turned around to me and he's like, "How much did you have to pay her to do that?" I said, "Unlike you, people like me." So I guess the whole point of this video is to not let what other people say affect you. You don't need somebody in your life telling you how to do you, how to be the best you there is. You need to learn to go through life not giving a fuck what people have to say to you or about you. Because really, honestly, where are those people going to be tomorrow? Or in 5 years? Or 10 years? Are they still going to be in your life? Are they still going to be there running their jaws? No, they're not going to be anywhere near you. And it even goes for family members, too. You know, don't let family break you down. Because 9 times out of 10, they're unhappy in their life and they're just attacking you to try to make themselves feel better. Don't let people break you down. If you're being bullied in school or you're being bullied in life, take that anger that they're projecting towards you and make it your strength. Because no matter what you do, they are always going to find fault with you. But when you're happy with yourself, then you take away their power and you make them even more pissed off at you because you are showing them that you're happy. Take the power away from people and you're going to be in a better situation. That's what I do. People nowadays talk all the mess that they want to, tell me all kinds of horrible bullshit, whatever else. I flip it on them and I put them in their place by telling them, "Look, I'm doing me. I'm doing the best I can for me. You don't like it? Too fucking bad. There's the door. No one told you to come into my life." So just remember that and keep that as part of you. You don't need somebody telling you who you are. You don't need to look at other people and be all like, "Oh, I wish I was like this person," or "I wish I was like this," or "I wish I was like that." No. Wishing those things on yourself is taken away from who you are. You are a beautiful person. Know that about yourself. You don't need validation from anyone else. So that's all I'm going to say for tonight, or for this video. Don't look for validation in anyone else but yourself. Love who you are. So you're fat. Oh well. 90% of Americans are fat now. Hello? In ancient cultures, being heavy and fat meant that you were royalty. Meant that you were better than everyone else. It was the skinny twig bitches who everyone looked at like, "Ew, what's wrong with them? They're poor." If you're a skinny person and people are making fun of you, who cares? You you feel that you look good? Look good. You're a fat person? You think you look good? Look good. There is a stipulation to that though. Don't end up on the People of Walmart website, because you know what? That is a whole section of life that is just wow. Wow. Okay? I don't put people down, but the people of Walmart.com or whatever that website is, wow, folks. Wow. That's all I will say on that. So, make sure that you follow me on all the different social medias that I'm connected to. Keek. That's KEEK.com/Hello Cupcake It's Me. I think. There's Instagram, and that's Instagram.com/Michael Scott Peterson with a SON, not SEN. There's the blog, www.hellocupcakeitsme.com. Of course, here on YouTube. Find me on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter. It's Hello Cupcake, the number 4, and the letter U. Um, yeah. So, hope y'all are doing well.